People say they believe in God. They say it easily, casually, almost automatically. But belief is not what you say. Belief is what you live. If you truly believed God, your life would not look the same. Your thoughts would change first, then your choices, then your direction, because real belief always leaves evidence. Many people claim faith, yet live in constant fear. They pray, yet panic. They speak of trust, yet worry endlessly about tomorrow. That is not belief. That is hope mixed with doubt, and doubt always shows up in how you live. If you believe God was in control, anxiety would lose its grip on you, not disappear overnight, but it would no longer rule you, because belief shifts authority. It moves power away from circumstances and places it back where it belongs, with God. The problem is not that people do not believe in God. The problem is they believe in Him only as an idea, not as a reality. They believe God exists, but they do not believe God acts. They believe God listens, but they do not believe God responds. So they pray as a ritual, not as a conversation. They obey selectively, trust partially, and surrender only when they have no other options left. But true belief does not wait until the end of the road. True belief starts walking before the path is clear. Look at your life honestly. Do your decisions reflect faith or fear? Do your reactions show trust or control? Do your priorities reveal surrender or self-reliance? Because what you truly believe always reveals itself under pressure. Anyone can say, I trust God when life is calm. Belief is tested when things fall apart, when money is short, when people leave, when doors close, when prayers seem unanswered. That is where belief stops being a word and becomes a weight you must carry. Many people say they believe God, yet they still try to control everything. They plan obsessively. They worry constantly. They overthink every outcome. Control is the enemy of belief, because belief requires release. If you truly believed God, you would stop fighting every delay. You would stop forcing every outcome. You would stop begging people to stay who were never meant to. Belief would give you patience, not passivity, but peace. Peace that does not depend on understanding. Most people want proof before obedience, but faith works in reverse. God does not reveal the full picture first. He reveals the next step. And belief is taking that step without seeing the entire staircase. That is why many people stay stuck. They are waiting for certainty, but certainty is not faith. Belief is moving forward while your hands are shaking. Belief is obeying even when your emotions resist. Belief is trusting even when logic argues back. If you believed God, you would stop asking, what if it doesn't work? And start asking, what if God is shaping me through this? Because belief changes interpretation. Pain stops being punishment. Delay stops being denial. Waiting stops being wasted time. It becomes preparation. Most people believe God can do miracles, but they don't believe He will do one for them. So they settle. They shrink their prayers. They lower their expectations. Not because God is limited, but because their belief is, if you believed God, you would stop living beneath the promises you quote. You would stop speaking faith and living fear. Your words would align with your actions. Your prayers would align with your choices. Belief is alignment. It is not perfection. It is direction. And right now, many lives are moving in the opposite direction of what they claim to believe. They believe God provides, yet they cheat, lie, and manipulate to survive. They believe God forgives, yet they live trapped in guilt and shame. They believe God guides, yet they refuse to let go of paths He keeps blocking. If you believe God, you would not fear obedience. You would not negotiate surrender. You would not delay change, because belief produces courage, not loud courage, quiet courage, the kind that keeps moving even when nobody claps. Belief is choosing integrity when shortcuts tempt you. Belief is choosing patience when urgency pressures you. Belief is choosing faith when evidence is missing. This is where the separation happens. Many admire faith. Few practice it because belief costs comfort. It will ask you to leave familiar places, to release familiar habits, to trust unfamiliar outcomes. And most people are not afraid of God. They are afraid of change. But if you believe God, you would trust Him more than your comfort zone. You would stop clinging to what feels safe but keeps you stuck. You would understand that God does not lead you where He will abandon you. He leads you where He will shape you. Belief is not about having all the answers. It is about knowing who holds them. And when that truth sinks deep enough, your life cannot remain the same. This is only the beginning, because once belief moves from your mouth to your heart, it will start rewriting how you think, how you respond, and how you walk through this world. Belief does not stay hidden for long. Sooner or later, it shows up in behavior. You can hear what a person believes by listening to how they speak under pressure. You can see it in how they react when life does not go their way. If you believed God, fear would no longer be your default response. Fear might still knock, but it would not stay, because belief teaches you something fear never can, that you are not alone in the struggle. Most people think faith means feeling strong all the time. It does not. Faith means choosing trust even when you feel weak. If you believed God, you would stop letting emotions drive every decision. You would stop reacting and start responding. Reaction comes from fear. Response comes from faith. When someone hurts you, belief changes your response. You stop seeking revenge. You stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding. Not because it does not hurt, but because you trust God with justice. If you believe God, you would stop chasing validation. You would not need constant approval to feel secure, because belief anchors your worth somewhere unshakable. Many people exhaust themselves trying to be seen, heard, and valued. They perform, they pretend, they overextend. Belief frees you from that cycle. You begin to understand that God's silence is not rejection. Sometimes it is protection. Sometimes it is redirection. If you believe God, waiting would not feel like punishment. It would feel like preparation. You would stop root. Seeing seasons that are meant to mature you, growth cannot be forced. Faith knows that belief also changes how you handle loss. You grieve, but you do not collapse. You feel pain, but you do not lose hope, because belief teaches you that God can rebuild from ruins. What breaks most people is not loss itself. It is the belief that nothing good can come after it. Faith refuses that lie. If you believe God, obedience would stop feeling like sacrifice and start feeling like freedom. You would not obey to earn love. You would obey because you are loved. That changes everything. Belief shifts your motivation. You stop trying to impress God. You start trying to honor Him. If you believe God, your private life would matter more than your public image. You would care less about appearing spiritual and more about being aligned, because belief happens when no one is watching. It shows up in integrity, in restraint, in consistency. When belief becomes behavior, peace becomes noticeable, not loud, not dramatic, but steady. You stop living in constant urgency. You stop feeling like everything will fall apart if you lose control. You learn to rest without guilt, because belief trusts God with outcomes. If you believe God, your life would look different. Not perfect, but grounded. Not free from problems, but free from panic. Belief does not remove storms. It changes how you stand in them. A believing life is marked by quiet confidence, by patience under pressure, by hope that does not depend on circumstances. People would notice something about you, not because you preach, but because you live differently. You would walk slower, speak calmer, react less, because belief gives you perspective. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is God forming in me? That question alone changes everything. Belief turns pain into purpose, waiting into wisdom, loss into lessons. If you believed God, you would stop measuring your life by speed and start measuring it by alignment. You would stop comparing your journey to others. You would trust your timing, because belief understands that delay is not denial. Your prayers would deepen, not longer, deeper, less about control, more about surrender, less about changing circumstances, more about changing you. Belief also makes you brave, not reckless, but steady. You move even when afraid. You speak truth even when it costs you. You choose right even when wrong feels easier. Because belief answers one question clearly: who do I trust most? And when that answer is God, your life cannot remain the same. So look at your life again, not with guilt, but with honesty. Where are you living in fear while claiming faith? Where are you holding control while asking for guidance? Belief is not something you declare once. It is something you practice daily. And the moment belief becomes real, your life begins to reflect it. Quietly, powerfully, completely.